The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Regional Planning Commission meeting, June 17th, 2020.
To order for the Regional Planning Commission. And Andy, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Regional Planning Commission meeting, all members, both on agenda, will be limited to 3 minutes per person. We're now opening up meeting for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, a new building has been built on Avenue F between Unit 1650A and Unit 1650E, the Bristlecone Apartment area. No building permit is posted as required, and there's not been a request for will serve for sewer and water service from the city. Did anyone apply for a permit? What did they pay? When was it granted? And who granted it? Who approved the density factor for the building to be built? Was there a request for a variance? You've got some close quarters there. That hasn't been addressed. Mr. Chairman, a home located at 318 Ely Avenue is being completely remodeled. New roof, windows, siding, gutted inside, possible new wiring. There's not a permit posted as required. Who's the owner? Who, if anyone, has applied for a permit? When was it granted? The house is approximately 150 feet from Leah Brown's property on the corner of Ely Avenue and Center Street. Leah's got a permit on her building. What's the problem here? They've been working on it for quite some time. Mr. Chairman, work continues to be done on the Centennial Choir building. Plastic unapproved sheeting has been nailed on the roof. No permit, no contractor on a commercial building. There's no ADA access. I've been told they rent out the basement to a young group of tumblers. Does the basement have a second fire exit? All code. No answers. Mr. Chairman, the newly designed convention center parking lot does not meet minimum ADA requirement. And the center walkway was taken out, needs to be put back in. Replaced now, before they finish. The stop sign on the corner of 5th and Lions needs to be replaced. I reported that months ago. A temporary sign should have been installed a long time ago. The radius is not to code on the west end of the parking lot. Who approved the plans? Who inspected it? Pretty sloppy. Mr. Chairman, Mrs. McKenzie has yet to correct her non-ADA compliant sidewalk in Lund. The LDS Church installed curb gutter and sidewalk just a short distance from her. They meet ADA standards. She could have copied that if nothing else. She needs to comply or resign. Now make up rules for everybody else to follow. Mr. Chairman, on the ingress-egress of Avenue D and Highway 93, the concrete triangle needs to come out. The stop sign has been run over 4 to 5 times. The boulder next to the stop sign has been pushed on the sidewalk, hampering passing, especially for those in a wheelchair. The curb and gutter should be put back 5 feet from the property line, not 11 feet. It has narrowed that street considerably. I've been told that the city paid $16,000 for the curb along the Van Camp's junkyard. I want to remind you, NRS forbids the city in assisting a private business. Curb and gutter was not installed prior to having to paving, in front of Jack Van Camp's lot across from the Prospect.
Okay, time out.
I've got some pictures I'm going to give to you later once I get a date stamp, Mr. Chairman. We need to address these, not let it linger.
More public comment? Okay, no comments?
Is this the time to address the variance that I'm here for, or
No,
no?
that's yes. That's item A. Public hearing. This is a public hearing with a proposed application for variance. Applicants wish to move the house they are constructing forward 8 feet, which is the depth of the porch. This would not be the required setbacks. Property address and/or general location is the northeast corner, Avenue H and 9th Street East, Block 48, Eden, Nevada. The assessor parcel number is 002-093-11. Applicants are Jeremiah and Lisa Peterson.
Yeah, we'd like to push the house forward. Oh, I'm sorry, Ben Peterson. I'm Jeremiah's father. We'd like to push the house forward for several reasons. When you look at the lot itself slopes rapidly from the street. So there's a lot of backfill that would be required in order to build. There will be a basement in there, but even with the basement, that's one of the issues in pulling it forward to, and all we're doing is just pulling it forward the depth of the porch. So really, it's only the width and depth of the front porch that would be, and I have a picture of
Eliminating the porch.
well, we'd like to put the house, or the porch onto it like that, and in pulling it forward, taking the porch out of consideration for the 20-foot setback, it would allow us to save a lot of backfill for one thing, and would give us 8 more feet in the backyard. And I believe too, our only other option would either be to pay quite a bit of money for extra backfill, or to eliminate the porch altogether. I believe from an architectural standpoint that the house will appear and look better and have better curb appeal with that front gable in on it. So these are the reasons why we're applying for this variance. Practical reasons for us, but I appreciate your consideration. Thank you. What would you like to see? I don't know if you'd like to see that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
One question, you said that the porch, how wide is the porch in there? From
16 feet.
16 feet by 8 feet. Is that
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And does the roof gable come out any farther? Does it cantilever over any farther than
There's a
the actual
2-foot.
guardrail? Or the
There's a
rail?
2-foot overhang. Yeah.
So there's, it cantilevers over 2 feet past that for just drainage and things like that? Okay. Gotcha.
What do you agree?
So I'm very familiar with this lot, yeah. And I understand the difficulties in the backfill issue because of the way that the land was constructed. It drops off pretty dramatically into the rest of the lot. So the first part of it, probably the first, 10 feet or 15 feet from the property line is at road grade, and maybe not even that, and then it drops off pretty dramatically to the rest of the lot. And
In fact, even before it gets to the property line, on
It
the
drops
city's
off.
side, it drops off about 10 feet.
okay, yeah.
So there's a
Yeah, so
considerable.
that makes it kind of difficult backfill. That is a lot of backfill to put in.
It is. In fact, just that 8 feet is about $4,000 worth of backfill. So it's a considerable amount. Plus, we would like, obviously to have the extra 8 feet in the backyard too. if we could.
So the house that's currently there is that going to be included, or is that going to be torn down and a new one?
There's no house in
There's
the
a house
There
there,
never
it's
has
an empty
been.
lot.
Yeah, it's an empty lot.
Oh, okay.
I came prepared.
Of
So,
course you did.
I have a question on it too. I drove past there today, and the alleyway that goes behind some of the houses farther to the east, or, yeah, to the east. I noticed that when they come out of the alley, they kind of curl
Up onto the
over onto the
property.
property line because the power lines, or power poles appear to be close enough that it's a little bit too close for cars to go through, or could they possibly go between those lines?
Actually, I've looked at that closely, and I think the reason why people just started cutting across the lot, when you look at the backyard property line from the avenue, I have to think backwards, Avenue F or G, from the Avenue G side, some of those back lots, the retaining wall has been compromised.
Oh,
And so dirt is sloughing down in from the alley side. And it has made it kind of hazardous actually to drive, to go through on the property side. It was my intention to go and talk to the neighbors back there and see if I could help them put a retaining wall back in there so that we can reestablish the alley drive where it's supposed to be. Because there is enough room, even in spite of the power poles that are there. And they've got a lot of them just right there on that lot, actually, so. Anyway, there's a lot of challenges with that lot in designing it because of the power poles and the alley access, so. But,
I was looking at it and imagining the house, and I hadn't seen a picture of the house, of what you were designing before that. And I'm thinking, you know, what I'd like to see, I'm gonna change your plans for you.
oh, okay.
But I thought, gee, it would look really neat if you're putting that front porch on, to just put the house up to that point, and then run a bridge across to the road, leave it open, so the kids can run and play underneath and all, you know.
Yeah, that would be I don't know if they would allow us to do that. By code, we have to be a 6-degree slope from
Yeah.
the center of the street up.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, this is going to be a retirement home for my wife and I. Our son and his family live here, and we want to come up here and retire and build this home. And I consider us good neighbors. We've always kept an impeccable yard. So,
Yeah, I've looked at that lot off and on for years and thought, who's ever going to build a house there? But I can see what you have planned would work.
yeah,
Um,
it would definitely work. This is just the challenges that we have. This variance would help us considerably.
So I looked at it quite extensively today, and looking around the neighborhood, there's been plenty of other houses that have, over the years, gone beyond that
Yeah.
setback law with building and whatever. And not to say that's right or wrong, but this is an older neighborhood, and I don't see a problem in it. I think that you're bringing in a very nice, aesthetically pleasing house that's obviously quite large. I don't know what the square footage of it is, but with the daylight basement, you're probably about 3,000 feet, or I don't know what it is, but.
And it's close to 3,600.
Okay, so it's a large house, and I understand the trials of trying to put something that big on this particular lot, because it's not an easy lot to build on. I commend you for doing that. I don't have an issue with that 8 feet coming out by 16 feet on that porch to make the house more aesthetically pleasing, because I can picture the house without the porch, and it's just not the same house. And I can understand from your architectural view of how that would go. Being's where a lot of these other houses, especially the one street up, which is H, would be what I, or Park, is that Park Avenue? It'd be Park Avenue. The houses in there, almost every one of them has a porch coming out beyond that setback. The house is built at 20 feet, but the porch comes out, obvious that it comes out farther that way, and those houses have been there for a number of years. And they're nice looking houses, because they have a front porch on there. So I'm personally okay with this. I understand, there was, I think I read through here, there was one, was it Brad, I believe, that said that it was, that he had a issue with it just being part of the code,
It
basically.
was within the, where all the things are filled out to be in
Right,
compliance with the different.
Yeah, it was in here, basically, the way it is right now is if there's a utility involved, then obviously that's an obvious reason to move any property, but,
Yeah.
but again, I still think that it's not really part of the house, it's the porch, it's not a living area part of the house. It's making it more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Obviously, it's going to up the property values by making it more aesthetically pleasing. You're putting on a very good sized house on there. And the challenges of putting that much backfill in there and making it safe by compaction and everything else is quite a challenge. It'd be a lot easier for us to, in my opinion, to go ahead and okay this, and, you know, not have to worry about as much cost onto you as far as a homeowner, and then also worrying about compaction issues later on with the foundation. So, you know, the less dirt that you fill into that hole, the less problems you're gonna have with compaction issues later on.
That's good. Thank you.
So anyways, that's my opinion in it.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with Jason. I think I don't know, from what I think this code is set in here for, mostly is for fire protection, that kind of thing, and I don't think that is a huge concern in this particular situation. So, I mean, that would be my one biggest concern, would be, you know, kind of, fire protection kind of, but I don't think that's an issue here, so.
And I actually agree with both of them. I think you kind of have to look at what's going on around as well. Otherwise, it kind of becomes an issue of selective enforcement. And clearly, you know, there are neighbors. Am I talking, do I need to talk louder?
You need to
Okay.
talk louder, please.
Yeah, so I do agree. It's your son Jeremiah, is he the deputy?
Yes, he's a detective
Okay.
with Whitetown.
I don't know if it's a conflict of interest issue, but I would like to just say that there was a false arrest, which I was intimately involved in, and it remains unresolved. He's not here, I would like to say that I appreciate his service in keeping it, you know, our community safe. But I think I will abstain due to the intimate issue with Jeremiah.
Okay.
Understand.
And I don't offhand see anything to concern with utility impediments or otherwise. And the fact that the main body of the house, as you point out, is at the setback, and without the porch, it just would not look right. So I tend to agree with you guys too.
I think if it was one thing, if it was the actual inhabitable area, living area on the porch, it's one thing, but this is a cosmetic
Yeah.
issue on there that makes the house more pleasing to aesthetically to the eye, and obviously increases the value of the house considerably too.
Yeah, it's not exactly as if it was an actual extension of the house itself.
Yeah.
So. Okay, any other, George?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as I understand it, it's just the porch that's causing us a little bit of heartburn.
Correct.
Okay. Family member of mine received a letter of notice. We don't have a problem with that. Considering the investment the gentleman is gonna be putting in there, that's gonna be a nice add-on to the community. I would encourage you to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, George.
If you look around at the houses in the area, a lot of them have a porch. And so it would blend in well with the rest of the homes. You can go in some places where they don't, but this area of the city has a lot of porches on their homes, front and back. Sometimes on the side, you just never know. But
Okay. So I don't know if we slid from A to B
yeah,
on that, so.
You close the public hearing and then we can move on to, if no one else says.
So any other discussion or input on item A? Okay, let me call for a motion for.
Move on to item B.
close the hearing and then go on to the,
Is that,
you have to close the hearing
Oh.
first and then go to
Okay.
the,
thank you, Carol.
you're welcome. She said that, but you didn't listen to her.
Yeah, we slid past A into B,
Yeah.
or no, one into B.
That
So-
seems to happen correct regularly on the
Yeah.
hearing.
So we close out the public hearing, we'll go to B, discussion for possible action. Approval of proposed application for variance. Applicants remove the house that are constructing forward 8 feet, which is the depth of the porch. Meet required setback, the property address and general location, northeast corner of Avenue H, 9th Avenue, and then 9th Street East, block 48, Ely, Nevada, assessor parcel 002093. Applicants are Jeremiah and Lisa Peterson. And if any further discussion on that? Oh, 002093-11.
I have a question in the way somewhere, like usual. I guess in looking at it, all you're doing is basically, you're putting the house in there and basically all you're doing is adding a porch because the house itself fits within the parameters of the requirements, right?
Correct, that's the main portion of what you will visually see is at the setback. It's really just a gable coming out with a porch underneath.
Like putting a tent in your front yard if you want to.
Well, I don't want to do that.
Oh, fine, okay. Now, I have no problem with that. I think it's going to be very appealing to the neighborhood. That area there has had those vacant lots for a while, and I've often wondered why somebody didn't start building there to fill that up. Because I've gone past there a lot, so I have no problem with it either.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the application for variance on the property. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
It's gonna be a great looking house.
I wonder what color it's going to be.
My wife picks that.
Oh. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And we go to,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Go to item B, discussion for possible action, approval of the 2019 update of the 2006 Water Resources Plan. Which is, yeah, I spent a good few hours with this thing.
This was it's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here.
There's a lot.
But, in going over it, I mean, like, it's been thoroughly dug into. I mean, there's everything that goes to breaking it down by valley, to aquifers, to regions, to valley, and to basically transfer of of waters from one region to another, and, I mean, like, they were darn thorough. And I was cross-eyed after reading it.
So I mean, I did have, just, a few questions.
Yeah. May I speak to it, please? Okay. For starters,
Name?
pardon?
Taking over my job. Will you state your name for the record, please, and for my benefit?
I'm Rod McKenzie. I'm chairman of the White Pine County Water Advisory Board. To give you just a little bit of history, the first water plan that the county had was in 1998. In 2006, there was a lot of activity going on, especially in Steptoe Valley. It was looking like there may be 4 or 5 actual power plants built somewhere between Ely and north end of Spring Valley, not Spring Valley, Steptoe Valley. In 1917, or in 2017, things concerning water had changed quite drastically. And so the board felt it was time to update it. What the county did is hire DRI to take our manual and update all of the charts and graphs. Once they had done that, the board and the county actually hired, I don't remember names, Emily Willard, who was secretary at that time of our board, and our chairman was Catherine Griffith. And the county paid them to go through the 2006 book and replace all of the updates in the book, which they did. However, that didn't bring it up to date. There was so much verbiage in there that needed to be explained or taken out or modified somewhat. I volunteered my time to go through the book and see if one thing that had happened as the charts and graphs were being upgraded, there was a lot of spelling errors in it. Why that happened, I don't know, but and the county agreed to hire somebody that was computer literate, because I'm not, to take the changes that I was putting in there, to put it in format of pages that you could read. I estimated that would take about 20 hours to hire someone, and actually it ended up taking almost twice that. But what you have before you is what we did. Besides just needing the graphs and charts upgraded, our 2006 issue had, the organization was poor. For example, you would read about a graph, but you had to turn the page to see it. And that makes it very difficult to learn what you're trying to gain out of that. And all of that has been modified to the point where I think it's quite readable and understandable. we were about halfway through our upgrades, and we discovered every chart that listed, and I might point out here, for those that haven't determined that, there are 20 basins in White Pine County that are either totally in the county or part of the county. I believe there's 4 basins that are totally within the county.